The Galactic Council's Great Hall was full. It was shaped like a giant circle, made of shining glass and steel. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in their places. Tall ones, short ones, creatures with scales, fur, or no faces at all. Every race in the galaxy had a seat here. In the center of the hall stood a human ambassador. He wore a black uniform, simple and clean. His face looked calm, but his eyes were sharp. He had just finished his speech. No one clapped. No one moved. The room was completely silent. The ambassador's words were still hanging in the air. He had spoken clearly without shouting. He had explained Earth's final request. He had asked for fairness, for respect, and for peace. But now, the humans were done talking. The silence grew longer. Aliens looked at each other, confused. "Why so quiet?" whispered a long-necked alien to his neighbor. "Are the humans giving up?" asked another, looking nervous. The human ambassador didn't answer. He didn't look sad or angry. He just looked finished. A few council members leaned forward, waiting for more words. But there were none. The human simply looked around the room, slowly, with sharp eyes. He stared at each leader for a second. No one could hold his gaze. Then, after a long pause, he said just 5 more words. His voice was cold and flat. "You had your chance." With that, the human turned and walked away. Behind him, the other humans, guards, staff, and assistants, also stood and followed. They didn't speak. They didn't look back. The sound of their boots on the floor echoed in the hall. And then, they were gone. The council chamber stayed quiet. A tall, red-skinned leader finally broke the silence. "What just happened?" "They're bluffing," said a gray-scaled alien. "Humans talk tough, but they won't do anything." An older council member shook his head. "No, that wasn't a bluff." Others started talking. Some nervous, some laughing, some angry. But in all the noise, one voice stood out. A soft, slow voice said, "Did we just make a big mistake?" Everyone turned to look. It was an old alien from the far edge of the galaxy. He had seen many wars. He had watched many species rise and fall. His eyes were full of fear. "They didn't threaten us," he said. "They didn't shout. They didn't beg. They just walked away." "So what?" asked a young council member. The old alien looked at him. "So now we don't know what comes next." That silence, after the humans left, felt heavy. It wasn't just quiet. It was the kind of silence you hear before a storm, or before a bomb explodes. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. Humans ended negotiations. Earth walks away from the council. What happens now? In the coming days, the humans sent no messages, no diplomats, no warnings. They became completely silent. And that silence began to scare the others. One council leader asked his staff, "What do humans usually do after they stop talking?" No one had an answer. But an old human history file gave a hint. The file told stories of Earth's past. It showed what happened when humans were pushed too far. When they stopped talking, they acted. And when they acted, they did it fast, hard, and without mercy. Still, some council members didn't believe it. "They can't fight the whole council," they said. "They're just one planet." But deep down, many leaders felt a chill in their bones, because the humans had left behind no threats, no warnings, only silence. And that silence was louder than any weapon. Far away on Earth, a human general stood in front of a large screen. It showed the council hall, now behind closed doors. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just looked at the screen and then nodded. Beside him, others were waiting. Soldiers, pilots, engineers. They had been waiting for this moment. A voice on the intercom said, "Orders confirmed. Operation is green." Still, the general said nothing. He raised one hand and gave a silent signal. In the cold of space, human ships began to move. They moved quietly, like shadows. No messages were sent. No warnings were given. The council thought silence meant peace. They were wrong. After the human ambassador left the Galactic Council Hall, silence filled more than just the room. It spread across the stars. The council leaders returned to their planets, but none of them could rest. Something didn't feel right. The humans had left without threats, without anger. They had simply ended the talks and walked away. Now, they were saying nothing. Total silence. No messages, no diplomats, no warnings. The communication lines that once buzzed with human traffic were now empty. Earth didn't respond to calls. Human ships disappeared from trade routes. Their embassies across the galaxy closed their doors. At first, many council members thought humans were bluffing. "They'll come back," said a proud lizard-like leader. "They're emotional creatures. This is just drama." But days passed, then a week, and still nothing. That silence became heavy, like a shadow covering the stars. It was not normal. It was not peaceful. It felt like the deep breath before an attack. Some leaders tried to hide their fear. Others sent spies to human space. They wanted to know what Earth was planning. One of the first spy ships was from the Bratak Empire. It crossed into the edge of human territory and began scanning. The captain sent one last message: "We see no activity. It's quiet, too quiet." Then, nothing. No signal, no crew, no wreckage. Gone. The Bratak demanded answers. They blamed pirates. But deep down, they knew the truth. The humans had erased that ship silently. Then another spy ship vanished. Then another. 6 in total. No alarms, no warnings, just silence, and then disappearance. The council held an emergency meeting. "What are they doing?" shouted one insect-like leader. "Why won't they talk to us?" asked another. "They're planning something," the old alien from before said. "And we won't see it coming." To calm things down, the council sent a team of diplomats to Earth. But Earth was quiet. The space around it was full of nothing. No satellites, no stations, no ships. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, beautiful, even. But when the team tried to contact the surface, no answer. They tried again, and again. Still, silence. Then, without warning, a strange signal came through. It was not a voice. It was just one sound. A heartbeat. Slow, calm, cold. Then it stopped. The signal cut out. The diplomats turned their ship around and left. They had never felt such fear before. One of them, a telepath, whispered, "Their minds are quiet. Too quiet, like a hunter waiting to strike." The council began to panic. They sent more ships to human space, but none came close. The deeper they went, the darker it got. Satellites blinked off. Drones crashed. Starbases near Earth started going dark. Even the stars near human space felt empty. Then something even stranger happened. A council outpost near the human border suddenly stopped responding. It was a mining colony with over 20,000 workers. One day they were fine. The next, they were gone. Rescue ships found no battle, no fire, no broken buildings. Everything was clean and quiet, as if no one had ever lived there. Only one thing was left behind. A single sentence carved into the metal walls of the main building. "You had your chance." The same words spoken by the human ambassador. That message shook the council. "What do we do now?" someone asked. A brave alien general said, "We attack first. We strike Earth before they strike us." But most leaders were afraid. Attack, without knowing the enemy's strength. What scared them most was not the humans' weapons or their ships. It was their silence. Because silence meant the humans were already ready, already watching, already moving. But where? No one knew. And that fear of not knowing began to break the council from the inside. Some races started hiding. Some left the council. Others begged for peace, even though no one was listening. Back on Earth, deep underground, a control room was active. Dozens of officers watched the galaxy through silent screens. One human commander spoke softly. "They are afraid now." Another replied, "Good. Fear makes them slow." Outside the planet, hidden in black space, human ships began to move. Quiet, invisible, waiting. They didn't need orders. They had a plan. A quiet plan. And soon, the silence would break. The Galactic Council was falling into fear. Every day, more systems near human space went silent. Ships disappeared. Stations stopped sending signals. No one knew if they were destroyed or just taken. Still, the humans said nothing. That silence was now louder than war. The Council needed answers. They needed proof. So they sent one of their best stealth ships, the Whisper's Edge, to follow a human cargo vessel. The ship had cloaking systems and top-level scanners. Its mission was simple: find out what the humans were moving. The ship began tracking the lone human freighter, flying through a quiet sector near the border. At first, everything seemed normal. The freighter was slow, unarmed, and didn't change course. It moved like a normal supply ship. But then, it entered a strange system, one not on any known star map. The Whisper's Edge followed it in. What they saw next shocked them. There, in the shadow of a dead moon, was a giant black structure. It looked like a space station, but it had no lights, no signals. It was hidden. Hundreds of human ships surrounded it. Not cargo ships, warships. Massive, silent, and cold. They were refueling, loading weapons, preparing. Inside the human freighter, giant machines were being moved: tanks, drones, missile pods, heavy walkers. Each one was marked with a simple symbol, a black star with a red line through it. The spy crew recorded everything. They tried to send a message back to the Council, but it never arrived. The last thing the Council saw was a short, blurry video. It showed a human ship turning toward the spy vessel. And then, static. The Whisper's Edge was never heard from again. Back at the Council chambers, panic spread. "This is worse than we thought," said one leader. "They're building an army," said another. "Not building," replied the old alien. "Finishing." Some members still refused to believe it. "They can't fight us all." But others were not so sure anymore. The humans weren't attacking yet, but they were moving, and moving in silence. In another part of the galaxy, on a desert world called Telax-9, a small mining colony sent a signal. Unknown ships in the sky. They were black, no lights, no noise. Then the signal ended. When Council scouts arrived, they found the colony empty. Not destroyed, not burned. Just gone. The machines were still running. Food was still warm, but no people. Only one thing was left, a small device in the command center, playing a message on loop. This is only the beginning. The Council now knew Earth was not waiting. It was already acting. One alien general tried to organize a fleet to strike human space. He took 200 warships and entered human territory. Only 3 came back. Their captains were shaking. One spoke before collapsing. "They didn't shoot at us. They just made us disappear." "How?" someone asked. "We don't know," the captain whispered. "They saw us before we saw them. Their weapons don't make noise. Their ships don't show on radar. They hunted us like ghosts." The Council had never faced an enemy like this. No shouting. No speeches, just careful, silent action. Then came the biggest shock. A rebel hacker from the Zarnak race stole a file from Earth's outer defense system. It was a short video, meant for humans only. In the video, a human commander stood in front of a large screen. Behind him were images of the Council leaders. He looked into the camera and spoke just 2 words. They chose. The video ended with a list. It was a long list, names of planets, stations, and council members. Next to each name was one word: scheduled. The council didn't understand at first, but then, one by one, the names started to match with real events. A planet would go silent. A spaceport would vanish. A leader would disappear, just as the list said. The humans had a plan, and they were following it. Step by step, quietly, without mercy. Across the galaxy, fear took root. Some races ran. Some begged for help. Some tried to make peace. But the humans never replied. They didn't want peace anymore. They had given their warning. They had ended talks. And now, they were moving like shadows. In Earth's deep command center, the operation board showed progress. Green lights blinked with each completed mission. One officer looked at the board and said, "Phase 2 complete. Targets confirmed." The general nodded. No more warnings, only results. Outside, thousands of human ships prepared to launch. They didn't roar. They didn't flash. They simply vanished into the dark. The council thought war meant noise and fire. They were wrong. This war was made of silence, and it was already halfway done. The Galactic Council was falling apart. Every day, a new planet went silent. Stations vanished. Leaders disappeared. And still, the humans said nothing. But the council had no more time for meetings or plans, because now the humans had struck. Not a secret move, not a hidden act, a direct, open attack, and it was terrifying. It started on Velaris Prime, a strong, wealthy council planet known for its defense system. Thousands of ships protected it. Ground cannons, space mines, fighter squadrons. It was called the Fortress World. No one believed Velaris could fall. But in one night, it did. No warning, no battle cries, just shadows moving through the stars. The first sign was a power drop. Every defense system went offline for 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, human stealth drones entered the atmosphere. They disabled the guns. They hacked the comms. They marked every key location. Then the sky opened. Hundreds of black ships fell from orbit, fast, silent, unstoppable. They released shock troops, humans in black armor, moving like machines. The Velaris army fought hard, but they couldn't see the humans. The invaders moved through walls, jammed every scanner, and attacked from every angle. Within 3 hours, the planet was lost. The humans didn't destroy everything. They didn't bomb cities. They took control. Velaris was now under Earth's command. No speeches, no news, just a signal sent from orbit. Stage 3 complete. The council received the message. Everyone was shocked. Velaris was a fortress. Someone whispered, "If they can take Velaris," said the old alien, "they can take any of us." A new fear rose in the room. No place was safe. Then came the second strike. A council meeting base on the moon of Yarnis IV. It was far from Earth. It had no weapons, just leaders, diplomats, thinkers. The humans didn't care. They appeared in the sky. 10 ships, small, fast. Before the guards could sound an alarm, every human ship dropped a pod. The pods crashed into the ground, opened instantly, and released gas. Non-lethal, but powerful. It knocked out every alien in seconds. When the guards woke up, their leaders were gone. No bodies, no blood. Just one message scratched into the floor of the council chamber. You stopped listening. So we stopped asking. The galaxy fell into chaos. Planets started leaving the council. Fleets were pulled back to protect home systems. Trade routes collapsed. Borders shut down. The fear of humans was now stronger than any law. But something strange happened too. Some smaller species, ones who were treated badly by the council, began to cheer for Earth. They remembered how the council ignored their needs, how they were used, taxed, and left behind. And now, The humans, once mocked and mistreated, were standing up, not with words, but with power. On the outer worlds, people whispered, "Maybe Earth is bringing balance. Maybe they are doing what we couldn't. Maybe this isn't war. Maybe it's judgment." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the control room was quiet. Dozens of green lights now covered the operation screen. The general stood in front of his team. He spoke clearly, without emotion. "Target, Council Core." One officer looked up. "You mean their homeworld?" The general nodded. "It ends there." A fleet was already waiting, hidden behind a gas cloud, engines cold, weapons armed. The humans didn't want to destroy the council. They wanted them to feel helpless, to remember what silence can do. Far away on the council's capital world, the skies were clear. Children played in parks. Leaders walked through halls. Then the sun went dark. Not because of night, but because of ships. Thousands of them. Black, silent, still. They did not fire. They just hovered, blocking the sky. A message played in every language. "This is not an attack. This is a reminder." We asked. You refused. We warned. You laughed. Now, you will listen. And then, the humans left. No bombs, no raids, just silence. But that silence was worse than any attack. Because now the council knew they were no longer in control. They never had been. The humans had moved while they were sleeping. And now, Earth held the galaxy's throat. The skies over the council's capital world stayed dark for 6 hours. Human ships blocked the sun like a silent warning. They didn't attack. They didn't speak again. They just waited. And then, they were gone. They vanished all at once, like ghosts fading into the stars. But the damage was already done. Not to buildings, not to cities, but to the council's mind. Inside the great council hall, fear had taken over. Some leaders shouted for war, others begged for surrender. A few simply sat in silence, unable to speak. The council was supposed to be strong, united, wise. Now it was broken. Meetings turned into arguments. Plans failed before they began. Trust disappeared. One leader stood up and said what many feared to say. "We are no longer in charge." Across the galaxy, thousands of systems watched the fall. News spread quickly. Earth had taken Velaris Prime. Earth had silenced Yarnis IV. Earth had entered the capital system and left without a fight. People saw this and realized the truth. The council could not stop the humans. Some planets began to rebel. They refused to pay taxes to the council. They formed their own small alliances. They said, if the council can't protect us, why follow them? In secret, many of them sent messages to Earth. Simple messages. "We will not stand against you. We wish to stay out of your way. Please don't hurt us." Earth didn't reply. And that silence was the answer. Meanwhile, on a hidden space station deep in the void, the human high command watched everything. The general stood before a large screen. It showed dozens of alien worlds, systems that once stood tall with the council, now crumbling, alone, afraid. The general spoke to his officers. "They're breaking. Faster than we thought." One officer nodded. "What is our next step?" The general's voice was calm and firm. "We wait." The officer looked confused. "Wait." The general pointed to the screen. "They are collapsing themselves. Let them." Back in the council, the pressure grew worse. The Braddock Empire withdrew from the council, taking their fleets with them. The Veleri refused all communication. The insectoid Sarns swore they would never sit beside the council again. Every race blamed someone else. "You caused this." "No, you ignored Earth first. You laughed at them when they first asked for help." Old crimes were remembered. Old grudges returned. The council hall, once a symbol of unity, now echoed with shouting and fear. Then one day, the council leader, the one who once told the humans they should feel lucky to sit here, resigned. On the same day, 3 council planets fell into civil war. All over the galaxy, something had changed. People began to speak of humans in a new way. Not as weak, not as emotional, not even as cruel, but as unseen kings of a quiet war. A war won not with explosions, but with fear, silence, and planning. On Earth, in a secret chamber, the first human ambassador, the same one who ended negotiations, watched the stars. A young officer asked, "Sir, they're falling without us lifting a hand. Is this the end?" The ambassador shook his head slowly. "No, this is the middle. The final part is when they come to us." The officer looked confused. Come to us? For what? The ambassador's eyes were cold, but calm. To beg. The council, once proud, once strong, now sent a message to Earth. The message was short, just 10 words. "We wish to reopen talks. Please respond. We're listening." For the first time, they spoke humbly. They used the word please. The humans waited 1 whole week. Then they sent a reply. "You're late." Now the galaxy waited. Would the humans forgive? Would they lead? Or would they finish what they started? The answer was coming, and the whole galaxy held its breath. The council hall was no longer filled with noise. No shouting, no arguments, only silence. The message from Earth, "You're late," had shaken every leader. The council, once proud and powerful, now waited like a student before a strict teacher. They had sent 5 more messages since then. Still, Earth did not respond. In the shadows, fear returned. What are they waiting for? Are they planning one final strike? Will they erase us all? No one knew. Some leaders begged for mercy. Others tried to prepare for war again. But their people had lost faith. Across the galaxy, the council's flags were taken down. On many worlds, Earth's black star was painted on walls and screens. Not because humans had forced it, but because people chose it. They saw Earth as powerful, smart, and silent, but fair. And they trusted that more than the Council's broken promises. Then, one day, Earth finally replied. A single human ship landed on the Council's capital world. It was not a warship. No weapons. No guards. Just one old diplomat. The same man who once walked out of the Council chamber without a word. Now he returned. This time, the room was quiet, not because of anger, but respect. He stood at the center, calm, cold, watching. One alien leader stood and said, "We are ready to talk. We are ready to listen." The human diplomat said nothing for a moment. Then he spoke. "Talks are over. That part is done. You had your chance." A wave of fear moved through the room. But the human continued. "Now, we will give orders. And you will follow, not as slaves, but as partners. But understand this, Earth now leads, not because we wanted to, but because you forced us to. You laughed at our voice. Now you will respect our silence." The Council had no choice. They agreed. The new system was born, the Accord of Unity. Earth sat at the head of the new table, not alone, but first. Other species could speak, offer, advise. But humans made the final calls. Things began to change. The weak planets were protected. The ignored species were given voice. Trade became fair. Military rules were enforced with strength, but never cruelty. Earth didn't use fear to rule. They used results. The galaxy slowly healed, but it never forgot. On a faraway world, a child asked her grandfather, "How did the humans win without firing all their weapons?" The old man smiled and said, "Because they didn't fight like the rest of us. They didn't shout. They didn't beg. They warned us once, then they acted. And when they went silent, the whole galaxy listened." Years later, a statue stood in the council hall. It showed a human in a black coat, standing tall, hands behind his back, eyes calm. At the base were just 3 words. "We warned you." The end.